makes the heart sick. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Disappointment can have a debilitating effect on the human psyche. The overwhelming feeling of getting your hopes up in the air and to have them dashed to the ground. That the heart becomes sicker when it fears that your desires will never come to pass. That if you're somebody who's hoping for something and believing for something, maybe you're believing for love, or maybe you're believing for friendship, or maybe you're believing for an opportunity, that when that thing that you're desiring does not come to pass, it has a debilitating effect on you. It makes the heart sick. It makes you even more sick when you're expecting something that never comes to pass. And so what we do is, to protect ourselves from the pain of disappointment, we wrap ourselves in skepticism and cynicism. That when you see people who are constant cynics and skeptical of everything and everybody, you think they're tough, but they're really afraid. They come off like I don't care. They come off like it don't matter. They have this attitude, I'm going to get you before you get me. That's why you see people go through dozens and dozens of breakups. It's just when I look like I'm going to get close to you, I'm going to break up with you because I'm going to get you before you get me. I'm going to quit the job before you fire me. The problem is I'm afraid. It comes off as being tough, but it's really afraid. And so what people do is, to protect themselves from being disappointed, they wrap themselves in cynicism and skepticism because they don't want to feel the cold pain of being disappointment. Oh. And so even when it comes to God, many people come into the house of God and they don't want to expect much. God, don't get my hopes up because I'm not sure if it's going to happen. My problem is, I've seen so many people who promised me and never came through. I've seen so many people who said they'd be there for me and they weren't. And so even when it comes to God and church, I have a certain amount of skepticism that I approach him with, because here's the problem. I've been there before. I've seen this movie before. I've had those kind of promises made and it didn't come through. I've had them say what they would do and they didn't come through for me. And so even when the promise is a good thing, I approach it with a certain amount of skepticism and a certain amount of cynicism, because I'm thinking that, God, you're just like everybody else. And I have to admit, sometimes we have lended to that cynicism, because we all at times have not done what we said we would do. We have all at times made promises that we couldn't keep, because we're limited in our scope and we're limited in our ability. And sometimes things were beyond our control. And even though I made the promise, I couldn't come through completely because things were beyond our control. And sometimes, quite frankly, we made promises that we had no intention of. And so the cynicism that people meet you with is because you trained them not to trust you. You trained them. You've taught them by your behavior that you're somebody that cannot be trusted. And don't feel bad when they look at you sideways, because you've already proven time and again that you are not a person of your word. Ooh. So because we're used to dealing with frail people and individuals who are frail and dust, we think that God is like men. I want to warn somebody that your cynicism is dangerous. Cynicism is choking your dream to death. And your skepticism toward God and your cynicism about the things of God, you may not realize it. You're protecting yourself, but you're really killing your dream. That your attitude is killing your dream. That your cynicism is aborting your dream, because God works in the atmosphere of expectation. That the water you need for the dream to come to pass comes out of the positivity in your mouth. And when you feed it with cynicism and skepticism and negativity, you are effectively choking the air out of your dream. Look at somebody and say, I expect something today. And listen, God said, I'm not a man that I should lie. I know you're used to dealing with men that make promises that didn't come through. I know your heart's been broken because you had all your hopes depending on somebody coming through for you. But God said, I'm not a man that I should lie. I'm not like the men you've been rolling with. I'm not like the people you've been hanging out with. I'm not a man that I should lie. Neither am I the son of man that I should repent. If I make you a promise, it'll come to pass. If I said something to you, I'm going to make it good. I'm going to move heaven and earth to make it good. Because I want you to know that when I say something to you, it shall come to pass. Look at somebody and say, it shall come to pass. God said, look, if I say I'm going to hit you, you better duck. I'm not like these jokers you deal with that be woofing at you and talking and playing. If I say something going to hit your house, you better duck. Somebody ought to be glad right now because God has made somebody a promise and said it's about to hit your house. Oh, nobody believes it and you've been waiting on it, but God, faith will make you look crazy. Faith will make you look stupid. Faith will make people laugh at you funny, but I'm telling you, God made me a promise, and I'm going to stand right here until I receive it. How many folks here God has made you a promise? He promised he blessed my children. He promised he blessed my seed. He promised he blessed my body. He promised he blessed the works of my hands. And I'm going to wait for God to come through with his promises because God said I cannot lie. It's not that I don't lie, I can't lie. It's impossible for me to lie. If I say this gray podium is blue, it's going to be blue because I said it.